Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. In today's first episode, well, not really, Friday Morning Ramblings is going to be called Garden Ramblings. But in the first episode for 2023, let's go take a tour of the garden. This year, I'm going to just show you my garden a lot how it is. You know, no perfection. You'll see things change. Like eventually I will pick up that bird feeder and we'll get into place where it belongs. I don't want people to be stressed that everything has to be perfect. Something I talked about last year. The whole idea is to relax, have fun, share your gardens, grow your gardens, but don't get overly stressed with having to take care of it. I'm pruning things now. I have no idea really how to do it. Some basic guidelines. These are my muscadines. Severely hacked back. That's what you're supposed to do with them. Whether or not it's perfect, I don't know, but I'm definitely going to get muscadines out of here. They're better under control. They are not pruned to the right canes or whatever you even would call them. But I like it, you know. Relax, have fun, learn. May take me a couple of years, but I will figure out how to prune my grapes, my muscadines. Let's go inside. We're going to walk around to different parts of the garden. And this is pretty much how I left my garden, you know, somewhere around November. Cleanup will start. Things are coming to life. I'm going to be using these cold frames. I don't know if you can see in there, but I started peppers probably like 12 weeks ago. They are going to go into 1-gallon containers. It stays warm in there. They're not going to get frost damaged over February and March and April when frost still shows up here. And I'm going to have pretty good sized banana peppers. So that's an experiment. That's going to be a lot of fun. All this will get cleaned out. Going to stick with what worked over here. I'll be putting in 12 pepper plants, a little bit less than I put in before. Fill up the raised bed. Plenty of videos on filling beds and all that. The Garden Rambling series is really just going to be me coming out here and talking. Fruit area looks good. The buds on the blueberries are doing well. I will be giving them, let's see if I make sure that's in camera there. There we go. The blueberries look wonderful. They survived. I think I'm into the second year after the cicadas came in. My fruit trees are healing. Blueberry bushes are healing. Things are going to look wonderful in here. I will be feeding the blueberries some more acidic water-soluble fertilizer. They do like acidic soil. I only do this about once a year, just a little bit. It's probably going to be mere acid. Anything that will acidify the soil a bit, blueberries do better. So you can see how green and beautiful this variety is. And then we come over here. Buds are forming, but it's a very different blueberry plant. You want to have different kinds of varieties in here to help with pollination, and it just, they tell me anyway, that it makes plumper blueberries by having different blueberry varieties cross-pollinating each other, and I tend to believe that. The canes for the blackberries are all over the place. The vertical towers from GreenStalk, I am affiliated with them. I highly recommend these if you don't have any yet, and of course if you have a few, you know, you start with 1, you end up with 3, you end up with 5. This is just a wonderful system. It could be mostly strawberries in here. That will be in a series for growing greens, all right in there. That's greens that, you know, died out in December. I haven't even pulled them out yet. The soil in here has already been taken care of and fluffed up and amended last year. About every 2 years, maybe 3 years, I dump it out, amend it. So this is just going to be cleaned out. I will put some organic granular fertilizer on the surface, scratch it in, water it in with some AgroThrive. I'm also affiliated with them. That's a great water-soluble organic fertilizer. You can find all that information out in the video description. Started heavily putting down organic granular fertilizer, something I got on sale, 20 pounds really, I think the bag was, for a couple of bucks. And alfalfa pellets. I have videos on that too. But because I'm going to be putting transplants into here, I'm not worried about the organic granular fertilizer sitting on top, the alfalfa sitting on the top. I wouldn't do this if I was putting seeds into that. But this is all going to break down on the top. I'm going to rake it in, maybe 1 inch deep, and then my transplants will be below that. Root systems will go into the mix that's in there already, the soil that's in there already, and all this stuff will break down over the year. I'm not going to worry about it. Feed the soil life, feed the plants, things will be great. Another area, well, let's go over here. More muscadine vines. So they grow extremely well. So I made a mistake of putting in 2 vines. I've talked about that before. That one is not pruned, and you can just see the chaos. The berries, the muscadine, which are like grapes, I'm told that they don't come on 2nd year, 3rd year growth. They come on new growth. So I've cut back this side, plenty of room for all the new growth, get better muscadines. But if I left this on here, this would just fill in completely, that I wouldn't even be able to walk through the tunnel. So you have to hack them back a whole lot. This is, I guess, maybe the 4th year or 5th year of my brown mission fig. It hasn't produced figs yet. Usually the cold kills it back. Well, let's take a look actually. Usually the cold kills it back, and it has to send up all new upper growth. I think, yeah, that's dry and dead. So I'm not going to get any new leaf growth out of here because that wood's all died back. I probably have to wrap this. I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to be removing this, putting it into a different part of my yard. Maybe it will do better there. But I am going to do some, redesign in here. These beds will get filled up a little more. I have garlic in some of them. Grow different things, but every year I have fun just kind of redesigning the space that I already have. These will all get thrown into the woods. I can probably make baskets or something crazy out of those. So I've started cleaning up my beds. Like this whole area has been cleaned up and was set up a couple days ago when we had a 65-degree day. Like a couple days, the night's going to get into the 20s again. Just getting everything ready for whenever I decide to start planting. This is an apple tree. 3 or 4 different varieties grafted onto here. Again, I came in, about all I really know is what a fruiting spur is, where the apples form, what a water sprout is. That's when a branch kind of just goes straight up. Nothing is going to grow in there except for leaves. I cut those out, cut the tops off of some of the taller branches to keep the energy down here to help hopefully bring more fruit spurs and all that, contain the size. But this is not pruned in any sensible way. And maybe as I'm talking about it, I'm saying everything wrong. That's okay. The tree's still going to grow. I get dozens of apples off of there with this chaotic pruning, and one day I will figure it all out. Overwintering Brussels, I had more kale in here, covered in white flies 3 days ago. Decided not to mess with them. I don't want the white flies around, so I'm throwing the kale out of the yard, all the way down there into my wooded area. It's not going into compost over there. I will inspect these, but these are all going to get pulled out too. The beds that I prepped, I don't know, October maybe, with leaves, pine straw, pine needles, all kinds of different stuff. Look pretty good. I haven't weeded those yet. Tomatoes are going to be going in there. Getting this all set up. Brought out my polycarbonate plastic. You can get plain old plastic. You can get polycarbonate, that's much stronger. Just make sure whatever you get, that you get something that's UV protected so the sun doesn't degrade it and it doesn't yellow. I have radishes growing in here. I have a video that shows you how to build this, but it's just a basic frame. I don't know, maybe that's 12 inches wide. The polycarbonate just rainbows nicely in there. I can cap off the end for when the cold is coming, but I have radishes under there. Or you can simply lay it down by it sitting on the edge of the little raised bed there. There's about an inch worth of space. Radishes are in there. Weight it down, the wind will blow it off. Spinach is under there. You do have to take this off, water it every once in a while. Just getting things ready. I'm throwing all the debris right into the center of the paths. I'll deal with that later. Cleaned up this area of spinach. This was all started last year. I love doing that with spinach. It's going to come back in full force, and then I'll have new spinach starting to grow. This is where I had kale in here. I wanted that to survive, which it did, but it was covered in white flies, so I just cut the top off. There are sprouts coming up on the sides now. They don't have white flies. I will treat this with some organic spray. all the whiteflies will be dead. If I left it like this, this is where I have to remove some more. There's probably whiteflies under here. Let's see. You can see right there by my thumb are some white specks. There's one. They're hard to see, but right in there. So I basically just cut the top off, like right here. Side shoots will come out. I will still get some leaves, but I'm going to get the blooms and the flowers. That's what I want out of my second year kale. Remains of turnips, which is pretty amazing that they are starting to grow. And these took the severe cold. I can actually make a nice turnip mashed potato out of these, which I'll be doing soon. This is all going to get cleaned up over the next week. February 11th or whatever today is, too early for planting directly into the ground for a lot of my seeds. Remember, your seeds are going to germinate based on soil temperature. So even if you're getting a pop of 50-60 degree days, if that soil temperature is staying cold, your seeds aren't going to germinate. That's why we start things indoors. I've started some peas, unprotected right in there, but I pre-sprouted the peas so that they just germinated just a little bit. They're in the ground. Your peas usually rot because we put them in too soon. Ground's too cold. They swell, they sit in the ground for 2 weeks, 3 weeks because it's too cold for them to sprout. Molds, microbes get to the soft pea, digests it, and then it rots basically. Under here is nothing. I am just using the polycarbonate to warm up the soil. At some point I will be planting into there, but that's also a way to prep your beds, is that you can just let the solar heat go through the plastic, warm up the raised beds. Just did a video on this. Those are onions that are kind of being winter sown. Different way to winter sow. When your ground's not frozen, you can scratch some seeds that are easily transplanted or that are cool weather crops, actually both. They will grow. The shoebox warms up the space. They germinate more quickly, and that's the whole key. When we're going from cold to later spring, you know, the warmth of the summer, your biggest enemy is just cold soil. So that's why, again, we start a lot of stuff indoors, because I can start seeds now. They'll germinate in my house 7 days. I'll have transplants. If I put those same seeds out here, they're not going to die typically, but they could take 2, 3, 4, even 5 weeks to germinate. And here's just a good example of throwing down the organic granular alfalfa. This has been down for a couple of days. It hasn't rained yet. When it rains, the alfalfa swells up, breaks into little flakes, gets incorporated into the earth. But people always worry if animals are going to come and eat this. Nothing is eating this. It's not, mice aren't coming over here. Nothing's coming in here except for my dog. If I let her in here, she likes licking the fertilizer for whatever reason. Well, I know why, because it's got bone meal in there and she can smell the different things. But I am just getting the beds set up. This is exactly what my garden looks like now. It will get cleaned up when I have time, but my whole goal is really to have fun, you know, and create with seeds, sculpt, do all kinds of different things. Let me show you another space in the garden. This is the farmhouse at Freetown Farm. We're pretty much done renovations. It's going to be a community center, a place to teach. We're really excited about it. Just give you a 2-second tour here. This is the bottom level, then we'll go upstairs. I want to show you the gardens from a little bit higher up. But it's a beautiful space, so we're going to be able to do a lot of events here. And you know, if you guys are looking for more to do in your communities, look for different nonprofits related to nature, gardening, maybe get involved, because there's so much out there. Not only is it a place to grow, but you can meet people, build relationships, teach, have a lot of fun, and make a difference. This is the upper level where the offices are good to go. We'll take a look out there in a second, but it's just a wonderful wide open space. That's going to be the space for people working at the farm, the greenhouse. Kind of excited about that area. Out here is the youth garden, and if you guys donated a year, 2 years ago, that's where the money went. Still intact, being used even more. Really looking forward to building that up, being part of the group, and it's for teaching. But this is the Freetown Farm property from up high. Just thought I'd give you a quick look. That's leaf compost ready for a future video. Stuff that's just been sitting, you know, I should have cleaned that up a while ago. Wife's been on me. That will all get cleaned up. This is where I have a lot of perennial flowers, building an edible landscape now all over my property, expanding it so there's a lot of food that grows in here. But here's one apple tree. This is a Granny Smith that hasn't produced any fruit yet. Had a lot of growth. I cut the center out of it, you can see right there, to let more sunlight in. That is something you want to do with your fruit trees. However, again, there's branches going everywhere. A lot of these should be cut out. I have a hard time removing stuff that's living, but like for instance, I mean, this whole piece can come out. But this is what happened to most of my fruit trees. I don't know if you can really see that. They were all damaged severely by cicadas. So last year I just let them grow. This year I'm cutting them back, learning about pruning. We'll cut back a lot of this dead wood, maybe during the season, I don't know, or at the end of the season. But they're just starting to get into shape. And then over here, I have new fruit trees. They're being protected because the deer will come over here and eat down the branches of the fruit trees out here. I'll have to figure out a way to protect them. Here's a good example of one of the fruit trees. They're smaller. I will prune them the right way. So I'm kind of hacking back the trees that I just let grow crazily. And then as I learn on those, I will take care of the new trees that are coming in. And that's how you're really going to learn. Like, don't overspend hours and hours kind of researching the same thing. Sometimes you just have to get started. Try and get a good idea. Try and do it right, of course. But you got to plant, you got to prune, you got to experience things to understand how they work and get better at it. Question I get a lot is, what if my garlic is sprouted up? It's going to be fine. Some garlic over here died off. Not sure why. That was probably a different variety. Your garlic can take a beating, especially when it warms up. You'll see it sprout. The frost comes in, can damage it. Don't worry about your garlic until, you know, really May. Water it in, maybe April. Water it in with a water-soluble fertilizer, get it some nitrogen, let it do its thing. I'm also going to be doing a video on planting soft neck garlic now. My soil can be worked, which means it's not frozen on the top, maybe frozen a little bit, you know, down maybe in the center or something like that. But I'm going to be putting in soft neck garlic. It should be fine. No dig garden will be cleaned up. There are potatoes that I left in there. They're going to be sprouting. And I really literally just come out here, reach into the ground, pull out potatoes. Probably could do it now, but we'll save that for later. Maybe we'll end here with composting. I even left the pen. This is how I probably did my last video in November, December. Just left it pretty much open. If you have the space, really try to get to composting. It will make a huge difference. Leaf compost was filled to the top. That's going to be decent stuff. If it's not fully broken down, I'll let it go for this year because I have a lot in the place that I just passed. This compost is somewhere in the middle to almost being done. That's all compost that's good. I have enough to take care of my gardens now. Compost is what organic gardening is about. It gives you everything you need. You're using your local resources. You're not spending any money. You're not looking for stamped products. You are actually just doing what nature's been doing since the beginning. These are the muscadine cuttings that I hacked out of there. Here's my little garden that I'm not sure what I'm going to do in here. I'll clean it all out. Probably come up with a new plan because I was growing the same vegetables in here that I'm growing in the other part of my garden, and I just wasn't getting to them. I think I just went to Portugal and I bought a lot of seeds. I may plant this with all the seeds that I got from Portugal, and it'll have, you know, a little bit of a themed background to it. The mushroom garden looking good. I should have the wine cap soon, but I am very excited for 2023. I'll be doing some different things. I'll be continuing to teach. I'm doing a lot of public Q&A videos where I talk about a topic, and then I take questions from people that, you know, are watching the video at that time. If you like that format, when I'm doing it as a public Q&A, a lot of people sign on. It's hard to answer all the questions. I do have perk memberships now on YouTube. It's under 10 bucks. but it's really designed to be more of a teaching classroom where it's small chat groups, maybe sometimes 20, 30 people, stay on for at least an hour, longer if needed, to answer people's questions. I do a teaching series, but it's just a nice way, I think, to have access to a teacher, which is me, and ask questions. This way you don't have to spend time searching through a video or searching YouTube or etc. You can just, ask the teacher basically. But I'm really excited, looking forward to hearing from you all, looking at your gardens, the new projects that you're starting. February is a great time in some areas. Some areas are covered in snow, the ground is frozen, but soon for everybody it'll be a great time to start cleaning up your beds, getting them ready for spring. And I'll be doing the garden ramblings at least 2 times a month, if not, once a week. And we're just going to walk through. You'll see the garden as it is, and you'll see the progress I'm making in real time. Thanks for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com. Enjoy the day.